So welcome everybody. The time has already started. We're going to wait for a few minutes to have a look at and see who's going to start, who's going to join in. Now, please remember, while I'm going to cover the presentations, to mute your own mic. It is quite important because your background noises are going to disturb each other. So because we actually at the moment is the 3 people on this chat. Very soon, very likely other people are going to join in. So if all the mics are on, basically you're going to hear each other, and you're just going to hear whatever I say as well, or whatever noise that you're actually causing. So it is quite important that when I start, please mute all your mics. It is not going to be a problem from the recording point of view, because we are able to mute everything during the recording. But the problem is during the conference itself. So what we're going to do in this particular session, is taking place from Italy. At the moment, my mother is going to have an operation, so I'm in Italy at the moment, and we're going to cover a very interesting topic, which is something that many people throughout the past 2 years have asked us. So we and also someone has already asked us how they can use their own devices to what devices they've got to what settings they've got to use on their devices, which are quite different to ours. I mean, they haven't been designed by us. So what we have done is we have made a presentation on that, which is something that you have requested us. So then we're going to talk about keloids, and we're going to touch briefly, without showing any results, onto mole removal. Mole removal is going to be a topic which we're going to talk about more in depth later on in other presentations. However, we're going to touch about moles removal using electrical arcing in this session as well. So beautiful. I just hear that the mics have been muted. So what we're going to do, we're going to start shortly with the first presentation. We're going to wait a while. So also the other thing I'd like to remind you, right, that whenever you're listening, any question you may have, write it down. Write it down, because you may forget. You can write on the chat, but the chat is going to go. So please write it down and ask me any question after the presentation is over. Each presentation is over. You do not have to ask a question which is not related. So, and you can ask, you can ask any questions, even those that are not related are good as well. So you can ask us any questions as long as it's about plasma treatments for aesthetic purposes and also medical purposes. So we can actually address those issues as well, which is quite an interesting thing. At the moment, we're not making any devices for medical purposes, but we can actually discuss that. We have already made this decision. So we're just waiting another few minutes to see whether someone else is going to join in, and then we're going to start. So once again, have a pen and paper handy, write down whatever questions you may have, and we're going to address them at the end of each presentation. That's quite important. And also, please write down and email us whatever topics you'd like us to cover in future events, in future online events. That's quite important as well. And do not be afraid to ask any question, even if you think it's quite a daring question. The simple reason is that daring questions are something that are extremely important and have got to be addressed. And if you have that question, other people may have that question. There's nothing, there's no questions that are stupid questions. That's very important. There's only, there's a say which I don't subscribe to as much, but only stupid people are afraid to ask stupid questions. Smart people are not afraid to ask stupid questions. So please ask any questions that are related to plasma treatments, even for medical purposes and so on. We're very, very open at Areton Ltd, and we absolutely love giving you as much value as possible. And that's why we encourage you to ask any questions. And once again, we encourage you to write down whatever topics you'd like us to cover. So the time has already passed. There's 5 past 7 GMT as already as the appointment, as the online appointment. So we're going to start with the first presentation, which is a topic which is going to be of great interest to many people. The reason is because we've been asked this question far too many times, and we need to address this topic. And the next topic is how you actually go and use a device from other manufacturers. So, and we're going to be doing something that no one else does, which is to say, we're going to talk about very cheap devices. A very interesting topic. So someone else has just joined us in this chat. Very much welcome. Please mute your microphone and then switch it back on when it's question times. Okay? It's because if you don't mute it, then other people can hear it. Okay, so we're going to start right now. Now, in this presentation, what we're going to cover is a topic which we have been asked a number of times, which is to say, how do we know the settings of devices that we buy from other manufacturers, which is a very interesting topic. We're not the only manufacturer of electrical arcing devices. There are several other manufacturers out there, and now electrical arcing devices are extremely cheap devices that you can buy. Well, you can buy devices which are extremely cheap. We're going to show you how cheap they are from eBay, Amazon, etc., and other portals. They're very accessible. I mean, you can actually get them at your doorstep for virtually almost nothing, which is quite interesting. And we think overall this is a good thing. I mean, all the other manufacturers feel threatened by these devices. We don't, for some strange reason. And this is why we are addressing this particular topic in a very bold manner, because in our view, it is very important that we actually address this topic and not try to shy away from it or play it down, or as people normally do, they say, oh, these are all Chinese devices, they're bad and so on. Actually, in our opinion, this is not good. Some of these devices are quite well designed, Hat off to them, indeed. But the problem is that what you're going to find is that there is no support on this type of device. That is to say, even those devices that are quite expensive, there's so many devices out there. You can actually buy them from, say, $20,000 down to $10. And even, it doesn't really matter whether you buy them for top prices. What you'll very likely find is that you find one or some of our videos online in order to try and figure out how to use these devices, even if you paid top prices for it, is because we are building the greatest platform, the greatest amount of information available for everybody in order to use these devices. So even if you bought something very, very expensive, you're very likely going to need our help in order to use them anyway. But we're going to touch on what we can help you in reality and what we cannot help you with. So the problem is that mainly with these devices, even if sometimes you buy them quite expensively for several $1,000s or euros, whatever, you either have very little support, you have a cell, you actually go to the so-called training seminars, which last one day, you get a beautiful certificate with ceremonies and all that, and then very much likely you're left on your own devices, whereas we keep pumping out new videos, new content in order to allow you to use them as effectively as possible. So we get people who bought very expensive devices coming to us in order to say, how do I use our device, which is quite interesting. But certainly the ones that are quite very, very cheap online, they've got no support whatsoever. We got countless of people asking us, asking this question, well, I bought this thing off the internet, how the heck do I use it? And we're going to go to that very, very shortly. Now, the other thing is that these devices, we actually bought a few because obviously we want to know. And we found that they've got no actual CE mark. It's quite easy to get to put a CE mark in there. It's got no CE mark. There's no training material, anything stating settings, stating how you use these devices, absolutely nothing. Or very, very little. There's no hotline. You cannot email anyone, you cannot ask any questions to anyone, and so on. This is why we get constantly people asking us questions about how to use these devices. So we wanted to make to start with at least this information available to you so that you can really have a clue of what is going on and what you can do. Also, they've got these devices have got either very poor manual, which is a sheet of paper which is very poorly written, very, very, very often, especially if you buy them from China, even on eBay and so on. We're going to show you the websites and going to give you some screenshots of that, which is going to be very interesting. But also some very big brands. If you look at their devices, you just read them. We actually got, when we bought the biggest brand there is, which is the Plexer, we still have that manual. We kept it quite close to our chest because we thought, actually there's nothing in there. Basically, and they don't, obviously they never publish their manual because there's actually nothing in there. You actually read it and you think, well, how the heck am I supposed to use this device? And then they're actually asking you to go, well, they were asking you to go to their seminars and so on. There were not, and there's nothing online that you can actually refer to. So up to 2018, there is actually nothing online on that particular device in order for you to actually use it. It's the complete opposite about what we do at Areton. Everything is out there, especially with all our devices. And the Beauty Tech is one of these examples. You've got a clear chart on what settings you can use with our device when you start with, and it's on beautytech.com website. And also, we're actually going to publish our own manual, but there's something is already published to our distributors online, but we're because they've got access to certain pages, whereas we're going to actually publish our own manual as well. All our training is published anyway. I don't particularly like to say it, but these devices are extremely cheap, are not legal in many countries, including Europe. I'll give you just one example. We already said there's no CE marking, but that's not a difficult thing to do. You can actually attach a CE mark. But then there's other things about the CE mark which are quite important to emphasize, because there's a technical file and so on, which are not there anywhere for anyone to see anyway. So even if there's a challenge, that, I mean, it's not possible to fight it. There's no the technical material that is legally required in order to affix a CE mark in there. There's not a legal representative in Europe. There's absolutely nothing. The point is that nobody from the authorities is going after Amazon, is going after eBay, is going after the big portals, Alibaba, DHgate and so on, which is actually what we're going to show you in a minute. There's no manufacturer. If you go and buy them, you find that there's not even a manufacturer name. You don't know where they come from. If something goes wrong, if a scar pops up, whatever problem you may get with the treatments, you're left on your own accord. And then if you have an inspection, basically everything is completely on you and you only. Also, there is these devices are not insurable as far as we know. We could be wrong, but as far as we know, they're not insurable. The reasons are plenty. There's no manufacturer's name, there's no technical file, there's no basic compliance to the local legislations, as well local legislation within Europe, and there's no training material of any sort associated to them. So there's another problem you get with them. So that's a picture of the skin, just for you to remember what we're dealing with. We're actually using all these devices to perform treatments on the skin, and these devices are ablative devices, and they cause a carbonization of the skin and also heat dissipation inside the skin. So remember what you're using them for. So you may buy a $10 piece of device and you're using it on people's skin. This is completely your choice, but this is what you actually can do. Basically, you can go online on eBay. In this case, for example, I've got DHgate, and you can look in this particular case here, like you can buy for $17 to $11. So we're going to show you something remarkable. Look, if you look at this design, it will remind you of a very interesting device. I'll actually say it, a core. It's so funny. But what they actually have done, they're changed very likely the casing. I'm actually saying nothing because we don't have the Accord device. We're not interested in even trying, but we've actually looked at certain similarities. It does look, I mean, even the needle is the same, with the same screw-in design and everything else. So that is like, well, I think I know where it comes from. This one, as I said, is for $11 to $17 here on this portal. This one, they market it for $200 to $250. And then, sorry, I'm just going to go back. Okay, there you are. Okay, beautiful. Now we are on eBay. Look, laser plasma age spot pen mole. Actually, you do. I mean, in the UK, we get this for, depends on what seller you get it from, basically from £7 to £8, including delivery. It's absolutely amazing. This is £20, and another one here is 33 US dollars, sorry, $20, 33 US dollars, and so on. Going to Alibaba. Yes, again, look at this beauty. $10, $9.65, $14. Here again, we're going from 100 to 135. Here, $12 to $14 each. What we have, Amazon, beautiful. We're in the UK, Amazon.co.uk, £15 including VAT from Amazon. Again, £15 there. We got $21.95 including delivery, very likely. You just try and go and see what you get. Alibaba again, yeah, I think it's the same screenshot. So the problem is, are these devices fit for purpose? That is quite an important thing to keep in mind. These devices come very cheaply and you're still using them on people's skin, and if you do it within a business is something that we're going to address within a few minutes. So it's the fact that they create an electrical arc of some sort, something that make them fit for purpose. Unfortunately, that's not the case, because we have designed the beauty tech and we know what sort of tests we've got to go through. There are so many of these devices on the market. It's absolutely amazing. Amazing, I want to express that. Absolutely amazing. There are also other manufacturers as well. We've been outrageous and we showed you the cheapest of the cheap, and now you know where to get them. It is possible to appraise them one by one, so you can actually buy them. Sorry. What I meant in there, I do apologize. It is impossible to appraise them one by one. What we mean here is, by this particular sentence, is that the problem is, in our case, we have no... So basically, there's no manufacturer in there stated on these devices, because what you get, also in China, you do have to state... Even if, so I'm just trying to rephrase it. In China, if you want to sell anything, you must state the manufacturer's name and address, contact details, i.e. phone number and website, in order to be legal in China. And in most other countries, it's something that is almost international law now. It's no international law as such, but in so many countries is a standardized thing. For something to be legally put on the market, there must be somebody who's responsible, and there's usually a limited company which you can actually locate and track down very easily by looking at the device, finding the name and also the address. So the logo is not enough. A website is not enough. You've got to get on the website in most countries the physical address, which, for example, of course, we do have it in the beauty tech, and you cannot actually do that. So basically, what you would need to do, if you trusted the design, you would actually need to test them one by one and hope that they are fit for purpose one by one. Because say, for example, one can come with one setting and the other one can come with a different setting, although they look the same. But this can actually happen very easily. Also, it is difficult to assess their design and quality assurance. It is actually impossible because you don't even know where they're manufactured, where they are manufactured. I actually know. I've tracked them down. I do speak Chinese, by the way, so I actually found the main companies who physically have the molds, and they do have everything. So just as a side note, and hopefully then later on over time we're going to use that in order to give you something of great interest. So this is something that we found only last year, and hopefully we're going to actually use that information and get some solution in there to help you even further. I'm not going to say more about that at the moment. Hopefully we're going to find a solution there so we can actually help you even further. So where do devices come from? Normally it's China. They have, do they have a manufacturer name and address? As I said, no. Do they have a CE marking? We bought them. No. Are they bad? Generally, I don't think they're bad. Although most people who are selling these devices for several £1,000 or dollars, whatever, they are trying to say they're rubbish, they're dangerous and so on, and just trying to spook you. Do they have any manual? Generally very poor or nothing. Is there any training provided? These devices generally absolutely zero. Some companies in the United in the EU buy them. They put their own CE mark in there, and their own name, their own manufacturer's name, their own name as company's name, and then they sell them out as their own brand. But what we find is that we actually looked into that very briefly. We find that for some reason they don't want to market anything. They don't put anything online and put no training. They publish absolutely nothing. What they tend to do is go door to door and provide sort of training door to door without putting anything online. This is what we find a lot within the United Kingdom, especially because we are in the United Kingdom. So we find loads of them, and they try to sell them for a profit. What they normally try and do is give you sort of free training, then you've been trained, therefore you'd like to buy their device. So the question is, do you want to have these devices in your practice without proper support? Look, these devices are there, and I'm actually going really bold here. I know that I'm growing bold here, but I'm going really bold in another sense as well. We already told you where to get them. It's very easy, and you're not going to risk a lot of capital either. But who takes the responsibility if and when things go wrong? That is the problem. And also, what is the support and training on these devices? This is why people come constantly to our websites, watch our videos and so on, because we are the only people providing loads of free training for our devices, but which people actually use for whatever they're doing in their own business. So we find very interesting things that people are doing in their own business. Now, the other thing I'd like to emphasize is, I don't know whether I put it up there, but it depends on where you are. In the UK, if you use one of these devices in your clinic, basically you cannot get insurance. Again, to the best of our knowledge, you cannot get insurance because there is no CE mark, there's no manufacturer's name, there's no training of any sort, there's no manual. Therefore, you cannot actually get a proper certificate from any insurer in the UK who's going to actually support you in any possible case of claims. And also, if there is an inspection from any public authority, you are found yourself with a device which is not go back up from, there's no CE mark, there's no manufacturer's name, there's nothing. Therefore, you would be the manufacturer in the law's eyes. So at that point, then you would need to actually provide technical files, everything else, have done a certain amount of tests on these devices, etc. Which obviously, if you own a business, then you're not going to spend time on, because it takes so much money and time in order to do properly and well to have a very strong legal base in case of a local authority, an authority is going to come and inspect your premises. So there's many problems, especially from a legal point of view, which you're going to face, and then sooner or later something is going to do something. It's just a matter of time. So what we cannot do is provide you. So we're going to start with telling you about what we cannot do at the moment. okay? I want to emphasize that because we're actually thinking about ways in order to help you as much as possible. We cannot provide at the moment a table for the power setting for your device, any device you may have bought. If you bought something that's cheap, like of the sort, we cannot give you anything of the sort. For the beauty tech we can, because we manufactured it, we manufacture it, we designed it, we know how it operates, we know the power settings, so we can actually do that. But with these things, you may have, we can actually buy a device which has got a certain power setting and they respond in a certain way under the oscilloscope. Then we buy the next one and it responds completely differently. It has completely different settings. So although it's the same casing, it comes in the same enclosure, in the same box, they're actually not the same thing. So we cannot control that. We are not, if we buy something online and you buy something that looks the same online, or from the same exact same source or from eBay, for example, there is no assurance that whatever works, say for example, whatever power level we measure in terms of voltage and frequency, say for example, any power setting, let's say the lowest power setting of that particular device, if they have a number of power settings for example, it's not a given that our, say, lowest power setting is the same as your power setting, although it appears that we have actually bought the same device from the same source. Again, because it's no quality assurance, there's no trackability of nothing. That is one of the problems. So we cannot at the moment provide you with a power setting table or anything. So somebody asked us that question. At the moment we're unable to do so unless we're able to control manufacturing and design. So this is up to the manufacturers to produce. Say for example, we have designed the beauty tech, we manufacture it, so we have produced it. Not only have we produced it, we have published it as well. So you don't even need to buy it. You go online, go on beautytech.com website, you can actually find it. It's there for anyone to see. Support you in any case of a claim. We cannot support you because we don't know whatever you bought, the way it's been set up, the way it's been designed, we've got no idea. Even if we actually go and spend our own money to buy exactly the same thing as you bought, we don't know whether what you have is set the same parameters as what we've got, whether inside this is exactly the same, and if it is, whether it's set, the settings, the calibration is the same, if it's got a calibration facility, which we have in the beauty tech, by the way. So in a case of a claim, we're unable to give you any help. So this is why we say on our certificates are only valid with our devices or the devices that have got our names on them, because we become the people who are responsible for them. Provide insurable training for other devices. At the moment, unfortunately, we cannot do that unless we find a way to manufacture, well, to control manufacturing and other things. So again, this is something that we're looking into, and hopefully we're going to give you some good news later on in the future. So minimize the damages from other devices. So we cannot really use other devices. You're left, I mean, there's nothing on them. Normally, if you buy something, if you have any issues, any problem, you go back to the manufacturer and say, look, I've got this problem, or I don't know what to do here. What do I do? I've got this device, well, I bought it from you, I've got this problem with the client, whatever. What should I do? Why did I get it? And so on. So that's another thing you'll find. Assure you about the way to operate them. We cannot tell you any protocol. We haven't got a clue how these devices are operated. I mean, what setting, what you're actually playing with. Although they look the same as what we've got, we don't know. We actually need to go there to you, wherever you are in the world, perform a certain amount of tests on them and say, look, you can actually use this device on this way, this way, this way, this way. And in order for us to do that, it'd be extremely costly. So that's another thing to bear in mind. So take the responsibility over the way they're made or operate. That is something that we cannot really do at the moment, but we're working on that, and hopefully we can help you sometime in the future. So let's see whether I can go and okay. So how can we help you? See whether I okay. How can we help you? Is providing you with a logical way to learn how to use them in the safest possible way. That is actually what we can do. And we're actually going to try and explain ourselves. So if you have bought any device from the most expensive to the least expensive, so remember, from a legal point of view, it's going to be a headache if something, if you get an inspection, if something goes wrong, if you have a claim and so on. We're going to go into that very soon. So that is not a solution that we can solve at the moment. If you buy devices that have not our brand, you have to deal with this problem. With the people who are meant to deal with these problems are the manufacturers, which are namely for the cheapest devices are not even stated there. For the most expensive ones are stated there. At least you have because obviously there is a lot of work related to doing this sort of due diligence, and the least they do, they are compliant with basic legislation. However, we find that even the ones are very expensive, people do come to us to try and get as much information as possible in order how to use them and to avoid mistakes and so on, which we also made videos on how to avoid mistakes. So that is another thing. So the logical way to start is just do the classic meat exercise. As I say, what you want to do is set them up, if they have multiple power levels, set them up at the highest power setting, produce the electrical arc, then decrease the power level, and then try to sustain the electrical arc at minimum power setting. Just that is a standard thing that you would want to know how to do. The other thing is you've got to generate the arc at minimum power level, and also try to adapt the knowledge that you get on voltaicplasma.com to whatever device you're using at your sole risk. So you're on your own. We're saying that because we know there's been plenty of people doing it, and there's going to be plenty of people doing it no matter what. They're on their own. God knows whatever happens to their business anyway. We don't know, but we know for a fact because we receive the inquiries from them, especially when things go wrong. Then what do we have? Oh yes. So you have plenty of free support on our platform, so you can actually score pages, try to learn as much as possible, even take the online tests. Because as a matter of fact, thousands of people have used our online training platform. We get people taking our tests almost on a daily basis, and the online tests have been extremely successful. People keep taking them. So use this device. So the other thing we would advise you to try and do, if you really want to save as much money as possible, you want to really take the risk, you're going to want to get, I mean, with a device that's got no manufacturer name, nothing on them, no training whatsoever from the manufacturer, you don't even know who the manufacturer is, you really want to do it, try on yourself first, hopefully, and see whether you get a scar or not. Use it on volunteers if the volunteers are ready to take the risk. Patch test only, wait for the results. If there's no scars, all beautiful, carry on at your own risk. If no damage is done, carry on and try the full treatment again at your own risk. But we're going to go again. So what to do next is just pray. Pray every day, especially when you start doing treatments on people using these devices, especially the cheapest ones. Pray. Go to church, you can pray on your own, because, and have faith, of course, a faith that things are going to work out somehow, especially if you're doing loads of treatments every day. Do have loads of faith, because sooner or later things are going to go belly up, especially when, yeah, and then also, yeah, I suggest this prayer as well. I pray that you strip away our insecurities and so on. Yeah, I do suggest you actually you pray to this particular prayer as well. Again, faith is the answer. Trust in God, because you cannot trust on the fact that there's a manufacturer somewhere that's made this device and is responsible for it somehow. You cannot locate it, but at least you know there's a God somewhere. It's very important. I mean, at the end of the day, miracles can happen. You can buy something for $10, $20 that can do the same thing as a device for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 can do. Miracles can happen, but yes, and there's, again, miracles can happen. You never know. I mean, some people who have been paraplegic have actually been able to walk again. You may have saved 2,000 pounds, euros, dollars, or even more, depending on what you bought or what you intended to buy. Again, you never know. Miracles can happen. But look at this picture. Is the situation sustainable? Because we talked about the legislative problems you may get, especially with the ones at lowest costs, because there's nothing there. Is this sustainable to a business who's actually performing these treatments for a living, to actually sustain a business and grow it? Do you really think so? Now, you don't really need to have, that's the point. Unfortunately, many countries, especially the UK we know of, and the United States, there's no need for any injury. You don't have to scar anyone at all. You need to just upset somebody. Somebody needs, I don't know, say that they got a bit swollen and they're saying, well, I'm upset. I've been off work for 3 days. Now give me the money for the 3 days of work. They're going to try on you. If they sense that you're not prepared, they're going to try. And then if you have something that you know is not insurable, if you have a business that people know is of value, they will try you on, because there's something called no win, no fee. We have it in the UK. These guys in the UK are also advertising on the radio. I mean, it's been heard a number of times say, look, are you unhappy with your esthetician? Are you not happy with your cosmetic clinic work? We can help you. No win, no fee. So they don't really need to have any problem. They just say, well, look, I've been swollen for 3 to 4 days. Yeah, and here are the pictures. And then the lawyer is gonna write a letter, start probing you. This is how they actually do it. And then they're gonna wait for your reply. If you don't reply, they're gonna try even more, and they know there's something wrong. If you have everything in order, you just send consent forms, name of device, training certificate, everything else, and everything is in order, not going to go there. But if they actually sense that something is wrong, oh yes, they're going to go there, and they're going to go there. Especially in the UK, they're actually the ones who really win. They're not the ones who are upset. They do get something, very, very little, generally between £1,000 or maybe £2,000, even in very bad cases. But then they are getting several thousands of pounds. So yeah. So, and then what you can do is use this particular firm, Lawyers for Jesus. I mean, because look, you either represent yourself or you use these lawyers. I'm sorry to use this type of humor, but really, you're left on your own devices. There's no insurance company that's going to back you up. There's no obviously manufacturer anywhere backing you up. You have a device which, if it's checked by your authorities, basically is going to be considered unsafe because it's lacking of the basic due diligence that this type of devices require to be before they're placed onto the market. Even if they're bought from Amazon, as a matter of fact, Amazon will not provide everything that you require in order to have a legal CE mark, even if it's not medical. They will not provide it because they hide from the thing that that particular legal loop that where they're saying, well, look, we are a platform. No blame on the platform. We are not the manufacturer. We only store it for some time. We put it when we get the order on behalf of the manufacturers. They may be in China, wherever, Afghanistan and so on. So, as I was saying, is you really got to either represent yourself or whatever. Is going to be a bit of a problem there. So, this is all for this presentation. We're going to go back onto our chat. We're going to stop the screen sharing. And we are starting with our question time. So please, any question?
Yes, I have a question for pen for LCN. This is German industry. Has only one power. They say that in German you get a certificate when it's no frequency and only one power allowed. What do you think about this? You cannot have a minimum power treatment or so, but only one power. It is only one power.
Okay. What is the brand name?
LCN.
NCN.
LCN, yes. This is a very well known cosmetic cosmetic production factory in Germany.
You say NCN. Let's try and Google
LCN, yes, in Germany.
LCN.
Like Liverpool.
LCN plasma.
Yeah.
So look. Okay, I'm just looking at this device. Yes, I find a video. There's something that I'm not particularly familiar with. I'll try to yes, and I'm looking at it. Yeah, yes, I can see it. See, what sort of price are they selling it at? Out of curiosity. What is the price that they're selling at?
2,500 euro.
Okay, good. I'll answer the question. I think this is quite an easy one. In practice, it is possible if the power level is low enough, then it is definitely possible to actually use this device for eyelid tightening and so on. So it's not a given that if they have only one power level, they're not suitable devices. So say for example the Plexer device, I've only given one name. They only have 3 power levels, the low, medium and high. At the beginning of their history in 2010, they were only selling the white one because with the minimum power level they were doing everything. So then they made a box and trying to sell it I mean as a box of 3, so they would charge more. So it is actually possible that is perfectly legitimate and suitable for eyelid tightening and even more removal. For more removal, if the power level, if it's very low, it's going to take a bit long for especially big moles. But if you are patient enough, why not? I mean, it's just going to take you longer to remove moles and so on. But in the case, for example, of the Beauty Tech, we made sure that we've got very high power levels, so you can remove moles, big moles, really, really quickly. That's one of the reasons why we made the Beauty Tech to be extremely powerful, even more powerful than the biggest brands on the market. So yeah, so hopefully I've answered the question. So once again, if the power level is low enough, it is okay to use one power level device for skin tightening, eyelid tightening, and so on. Even moles removal. It may take long to remove moles, big moles, but it's still possible. And that is the answer to that question.
I have one more.
Please.
Yes, one people say that all these devices only burn the skin, that we make always damage to the people, and that is not important how much they cost, that they are all from China, and that they don't generate plasma but only electric arc, and that only jet plasma is the real device that produces plasma. What do you think? That generate plasma when you
Yes,
work.
how did they, yes, this is what they say, yes? Do
Yes.
they provide any evidence?
No, I don't know. I don't know, yes.
Yes, there you have it. We've been on the market for so long. We've seen all sorts of things. I mean, in one of the online training sessions, I even heard that there were manufacturers saying that the real plasma is the one that uses nitrogen. And actually nitrogen is a gas that is present in 78%. I mean, the atmosphere has got 78% nitrogen. So they're actually saying that their device is real plasma because they work with nitrogen. And it's true. But every device, pretty much every device works with nitrogen because every device works in air. If you watch one of our latest videos, our new device is going to use also carrier gases that are not air. So basically the point is that in order to justify a very high price, they tell stories in order to play people down and other devices down, because obviously if you can buy something, as I say, you can buy something for $10. So you want to try and get people not to buy something for $10 and give it a try, because then they may not buy your 3,000, 5,000 euros device. You never know. So they're trying to get this sort of smoke screens that they cannot back up with nothing, in order for you to spend as much money as possible with them and close you off to other people. But if you look at these claims, normally they use words which you really don't understand as much, and they're not really backed up by much. And also what you'll find is that they don't even put a lot of information out there. Some of them do, because they do really need to market, but they're not very clear. They don't seem to be very transparent either. That's another thing that you can use in order to sniff them out. But what I'd say is have a look carefully at what they do and see whether they actually are going to provide what you really need from them. As I say, if you want to get good support and training, if they're really able to do that. And we only find, from our point of view, the only way, the most sustainable way that we find in order to provide training is by providing them online and publishing all the training material we can possibly make. So hopefully, did I answer your question? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.